Welcome back to the Total Athlete Vlog. What is happening, YouTube? It's Monday again, which means we're doing the exact same workout as last Monday. A few minor adjustments with the dunks, but yeah, squats and dunks, keeping it really simple. This is my favorite workout of the week. I love to dunk. I wish I would do it more often if I could, but we're still rehabbing the patella tendon, so we have to manage the intensity and manage the volume, just the general load on the tendon as we go. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a different format. I'm going to be answering some questions that people have sent me via Instagram messages. I put a poll up on my story asking for questions, so I'll just breeze through those as I'm warming up and in between different sets of the exercises. First question, do I take any supplements? Yes, I do, but before I talk about supplements, most important thing to remember before you even consider taking supplements is supplements are the very peak of the pyramid when it comes to life or athletic performance. The very bottom, if you haven't got sleep, if you haven't got nutrition, if you haven't got your training on point, and those are mastered on a general basis, just consistently week to week, day to day, month to month, then there's no point even thinking about taking supplements because they're only going to offer you like a 2.5 to 5% performance gain when it comes down to it. But if you have mastered everything and you do want to look into some other things that will potentially increase your performance, you got to go with the basics. Creatine is a really, really big one. Everyone knows the benefits of creatine, not just for physical performance, but also for mental performance as well. I currently take somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 grams a day. Obviously, the recommended dosage for physical performance is just 5 grams for maintenance every single day, but I think it's been, well, as far as I know, it's been pretty well studied that if you take upwards and beyond 15 grams a day, then you also start to get the cognitive benefits. So the reduction in mental fatigue, the improvement in mental stamina, things like this. I also take an omega-3 supplement. I also take acetyl L-carnitine. I also take L-theanine. I mix it with my coffee in the morning. L-theanine, again, it's not like, a lot of these aren't really essential and you could do with or without them. These are just like personal preference. I've done my own research into them. But L-theanine, when combined with coffee, it basically improves focus, it improves alpha brainwave activity, which has been associated with like a more calm focus. So it's a perfect thing to combine with caffeine because it helps to reduce your the jitters that you might get from caffeine. If you take a lot of caffeine, I myself, if I take quite a bit before a workout, just in the form of coffee, I can sometimes get jitters. And from personal experimentation, anecdotal evidence, I found that combining L-theanine with caffeine really helps to reduce those jitters. Outside of that, there is lion's mane mushroom, which I kind of cycle on, like 5 days on, 2 days off, and cordyceps mushroom. Outside of those, I can't think, other than like a multivitamin supplement, that I take anything else, nothing crazy. Oh, and one more supplement that I completely forgot to mention, magnesium glycinate. Taking magnesium, or I think it's bisglycinate, whatever you want to call it. Taking magnesium an hour to 90 minutes before bed, it's like a complete game changer. If you struggle to fall asleep at night and you often struggle with like racing thoughts, or you need to like listen to a podcast to fall asleep, maybe if you're a bit more like on the ADHD side of the spectrum, having the muscle relaxant effects, like the reduction in body stimulation, I guess you could call it, from when your muscles are completely relaxed before you fall asleep, massively helps. It's like a very, very potent sleeping aid. Obviously, sleep is a very big component of athletic performance. If you haven't got your sleeping schedule or your circadian rhythm on point, magnesium is probably one of the biggest ones I would recommend for that as well. Next question, can you explain your thoughts on the interference effect? Yes, so this is kind of like a hotly debated topic in the S&C world. Basically, the interference effect is that if you train multiple different qualities at the same time, that there is going to be some kind of competition in terms of the adaptations that your body is trying to undergo between those. For example, if you're training for maximal strength and endurance at the same time, there's going to be a limit to which you can push both of those at the same time, because after a certain point, they're going to be in competition. So I think that the main argument against the interference effect existing is more from like an intermediate level, where if you're an intermediate level athlete, you're never really going to reach the point where you trying to push for your 5K time is going to interfere with like training for a max squat or deadlift. Hence the big increase in popularity of like the hybrid training movement at the moment. There's lots of hybrid athletes out there who are training multiple different qualities and becoming a relatively high level in both. Obviously not elite in both, because if you want to become elite in anything, by definition, you have to literally solely focus on that. You're not going to become an elite level powerlifter while training for a marathon. It just doesn't happen. There's no elite level powerlifters who run marathons at the same time, who are doing, trying to get their marathon time to an elite level as well. Maybe there are some powerlifters who like to do like endurance running, but none of them are going to put up an elite marathon time while also doing an elite powerlifting total. That's how I would describe the interference effect. And it definitely is not something that an intermediate to beginner level athlete has to worry about, which is why it's kind of a moot point for the vast majority of people that are thinking about the effect. But once you get towards the high end of intermediate, in towards like advanced and elite level athletes, just think about it like this. You only have a certain amount of training time in the week. You only have a certain amount of recovery capital that you can get after a workout. So there's going to be a limit to which you can push, for example, your strength numbers, and there's going to be a limit to how much you can push your speed and how much you can train sprints. And I think Daniel Back talks about this quite a lot. Jump Science, or 2X Athlete, really big fan of Daniel Back's work, and he's been a huge influence in me, in my like coming up as an S&C coach and also as an athlete. There comes a point where the speed at which you can produce force while training for strength movements, squats, deadlifts, heavier movements, the adaptations that drives will interfere with the adaptations that are driven by sprinting and jumping training. High velocity movements are very sensitive to fatigue. So if you are really trying to push your strength numbers, kind of like I am in the phase that I'm in right now, you're not going to be seeing the same improvement in your sprint and jump gains, your high velocity training, as you would if you were doing just solely sprint and jump training and doing the bare minimum, like minimum effective dose just to maintain your strength, or just completely stopping strength training entirely while you just focus on sprints, jumps, and plyometrics. And the same can be said in reverse as well. If you want to focus on building your strength, you may want to dial back just a little bit, not massively, but dial back a little bit your sprints and plyos volume, because there could be a slight interference effect there. Again, not for intermediate and beginner level athletes. If you're an intermediate or beginner level athlete, just ignore this entire conversation. The interference effect is not relevant for you at all. But as you get more towards the high end of advanced or high end of intermediate towards elite, it's definitely a real thing, and it's something that needs to be programmed around. You can't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to train everything all at once and I'm going to become good at everything. You can't become elite at everything. You can't train all physical qualities at once you get to a high enough level. So that's my thoughts on the interference effect. So top set today is going to be 140. That was 100. We're going to jump it up to 120 for a final warm-up set of 8. Just so that I can progress the workout a little bit from last week. My main focus with doing my 140 by 8 this week is just to increase the velocity of the movement. I don't have a velocity tracker here. I could record it from the side, but I don't have a reference to compare it with last week, because I don't think I recorded my squats from the side last week. At some point in the future, I do want to make sure that I can invest more in the channel. So buying some high quality sprint timing gates, buying some bar velocity trackers, maybe even buying a jump mat or high quality Vertec, just so that I can have some more accurate measures for sprints and jumps. But that's a bit further down the road. So if you want to see that, like and subscribe. Help the channel grow, and we can start investing more in the channel and grow together as athletes. I moved pretty well. Just realized this whole time, haven't put my weightlifting shoes on. I'm I'm gonna put them on and then just jump straight to 140. I generally tend to prefer warming up with weightlifting shoes if I'm gonna use them for the rest of the workout, but see how they feel, jumping straight in at 140 with them on. Next question, how old are you? I'm 26 years old. 1998, baby. I'm gonna be 27 in 1 month's time, so it's 21st of July today. Birthday's on 21st of August, I'm an August baby. Don't really believe much about star signs, but I'm a Leo. So if that's relevant to any of you, then we'll talk about it. Ooh, definitely need a deload next week. That did not move as fast as it did last week. But as long as the intent's there, that's all that matters. Next question, how many times a week do you squat? Well, it varies depending on what time of year and what training cycle I'm in. On average, I would say 1 to 2 times a week. It really heavily depends, sometimes up to 3 times a week. In this current phase of programming where we're just rehabbing the knee, focusing on building strength, I squat 3 times a week, 2 main back squat sessions, although sometimes it can be front squat as well, but 2 main squatting sessions and then an accessory squatting session, which will either be some kind of hack squat. I don't know if you can technically call this another squatting session, like a Hatfield split squat. Technically it's a squatting pattern, but it's unilateral. But yeah, currently 3 times a week, but as we progress more, as my knee heals and move into more plyometric sprinting and jumps phase of the program, it'll definitely probably drop down to 1, maybe even none at some points, really depending on what phase of programming we're in. Ooh. Definitely got tipped forward on a couple of those. Felt my heels lifting up, but felt like that went better than the first set. Next question, how long have I been Olympic weightlifting for? That's a good question. I am not 100% certain when I first started doing Olympic lifting. I think it must have been around about 2021, maybe 2022, getting seriously into it. As most people do who are interested in increasing their vertical jump, I kind of got into Isaiah Rivera's YouTube channel, seeing him doing power cleans. I was like, so I need to do power cleans to jump higher. I'll get into that later. That's obviously not a good mindset to get into, but you see that success leaves clues. You see a lot of jumpers or sprinters doing power cleans. You're like, right, I need to learn how to power clean. So I learned how to power clean first, and then I went down the weightlifting rabbit hole. Zach Tellender, Clarence Kennedy, Weightlifting House wasn't really around at that time super much, but I watched a lot of their content. What other weightlifting channels were there that I got into? Gabriel Cinquerin, Seeker Strength. All of those channels kind of got me passionate about weightlifting. Then around about late 2022, I started to get into it a little bit more. It was around this time I actually lived in Norway for 3 months, and I was working in CrossFit gyms. So I was actually coaching Olympic lifting around that time as well. That was also around the time that I was doing my strength and conditioning qualification. So I was really starting to get into learning the technique on the lifts while training them also quite a lot as well. That's one of the best ways to learn something is by teaching it, but then also doing it yourself. Then around 2023 is when I started, it was late 2022, 2023. That's when I did Clarence Kennedy's beginner weightlifting program and got great results from that. That was around the first time that I snatched 100 kilograms. Kind of fell out of love with weightlifting for a little bit, or like stopped it to focus more on like sprinting and jumping for a little over a year. Still did like the occasional snatch and clean and jerk session or power cleans, power snatches throughout that year, but didn't really focus on it too much. And then towards the end of last year, I was doing a lot more like power cleans with the Athletic Index program. Link in the description, by the way, if you want to get more athletic. So yeah, I would say in terms of actual training age versus like just chronological time, it's obviously not the same thing. So training age, I would say I probably have about 3.5, I'd say just under 3 years of like training age in the lifts. But in terms of like actual like chronological time since like the time I started doing them and to now, I would say that's around about 4.5, 5 years, depending on the time when you say like if you just start doing like power cleans once a week, if that technically counts, then yes. But like actually formally doing the lifts, learning how to snatch, clean and jerk, full range of motion, all the derivatives, push presses, behind the neck jerk, all this stuff, I would say, yeah, around about 3 years approximately. Ooh. All right, onto the quarter squats now. We'll jump the weight up to 155. Just gonna do one set of quarter squats until an RP 7 or 8, and then 15-second isometric hold. For the rim setting today, I'm thinking this, even though that is slightly more than 6 inches with the 2 of the plates, to go underneath the rim. I'm not gonna put the rim there today because the floor is like really slippery. Don't know if you can see, but because it's so humid today, all of this condensation around here, where I'd usually jump for the rim, it's pretty shit. Maybe I could bring the rim forward here, but I'm very much more tempted to put the rim over in that parking space over there because it's completely clear, although it's a little bit dusty there, so we'll have to sweep it. The 2 of these make 6 inches, but I don't know if you can see. You can maybe see it from this angle a little bit more. The rim is actually a little bit bent down, so I think if I put my 2 plates underneath the rim, then we should be looking at around about like 9.5.5, maybe 9.6 for the rim today. Program says 9.5, so let's see how we fare with 9.5, 9.6 today. Don't hit the light. Okay, we're good. All right. Right, that is the front half of the rim at about 9.6. I'm gonna have to put the other plates underneath there as well. Then we'll measure up, see what height we're at. Okay, we're looking at pretty much 113 inches exactly on the front of the rim, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 9 feet 5 inches. All right, so Coach Liam has programmed me 1 foot left-legged with a slight curve jumps, So I think last week I was kind of over-exaggerating the curve to come in, especially if I was curving right and then jumping off my left. So a little bit less of a curve. Then we're going to do some technical work on trying to get lower through my penultimate step, or the step before my penultimate step. I'm getting too high right before I come in and then trying to get low through the penultimate, but I should already be low with my hips before I push through that penultimate, especially on two-legged approaches. Then after that, we've got right-left with a bit more of a turn stance. So coming in, trying to make sure that as I'm coming in, I'm really stabbing that block step into the ground here and not being here with that takeoff there. There'll be 8 reps on all of the two-legged jumps. So 8 reps right, left, 8 reps left, right, and then 8 reps standing. Let's get into it. Rim stuffed. That was just in and out. That one was definitely more convincing. Definitely more convincing. I'll take that. I'm pushing through my left leg, right, left, stab, and hopefully go up for a one-hander or a two-hander. Oh, I missed it. Oh, that was a technical miss. I was definitely high enough to get that dunk. Okay, either way, I feel like the approach mechanics are feeling better pushing through low. So I'm gonna get into my right-left approaches. I'm gonna do a few off the dribble, maybe a few off the lob, 8 jumps, maybe even get some windmill attempts in. We'll see. Hopefully I don't knock this rim over. I think that counts as a one-hander with a reverse, but a little bit better for a turn stance. Not even close. That windmill is dropping today on 9.5. On the left, right, I can get it. I know I can get it. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I'll take that. Gonna finish up the left, right with just some basic dunks now. Trying to get as high as I can, and then I'll do a few height checks. First height check I'm going to do with the camera at a little bit of a higher angle, see how it looks. And then the second one I'm going to do with the camera on the floor, see how much it makes a difference in terms of how high my head looks in relation to the rim. Not sure how high I felt on that one. I was probably maybe this far below the rim. I don't know. The height check on the camera is going to look different. So that was higher up angle. Now we're going to move the camera down to the floor. Lower, 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 lower. Tilt it up so you can see the difference. That was nowhere near. Right. I feel like the right side of this rim is personally offending me today, so the rest of the dunks on the off foot are gonna be to hit that side of the fucking rim. Yeah, take that, bitch. I'll even do a few lefties just to show that I can do my weakest dunk on this side of the rim as well. Every single attempt I'm doing is bending the rim down further on this side, so after that first one, this was a lot easier, but still. Quick piece of advice for two-handed attempts. Always try and hold the ball as low down as you can and grip it with your fingertips, not with your palms. That way you've got more reach and you can dunk on a little bit of a higher rim. All right, we'll call it there for today. We got some good squats in, we got some good dunks in. Hope you appreciate the content. If you want to get more athletic, check the link in the description. One-on-one coaching programs available. All right, catch you guys in the next one.